Abdullah, if I'm audible, so I just want to ask you your syllabus you have covered yet in maths and your native location, right? I mean, your location, from where do you belong? If I'm not audible, I'm writing you in chat. You can also reply me via texts.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, Hadia Abdul Samad.
I just heard it now. So
Yeah.
I
Hello.
didn't hear you. Can
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. I can hear you. Am I audible to you?
Yes, it's audible.
Okay. I just wanted to know what's your syllabus that you have covered. I mean, in
Um,
maths yet.
we are doing 3D, three dimension and vectors right now. That is like our
Okay.
chapters.
And what have you covered? Which chapters?
Everything else.
Okay, everything else you have covered already.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And the next question is, from where do you belong?
India, Kerala.
India. From okay, cool. And what's the slip? I mean, what are the subjects other than maths which you have opted for?
Physics.
And no, not here. I'm just asking your subjects in class 12th.
Okay. I opted for science, biomath.
Okay, so is it necessary to opt for bio with maths in Kerala? Because I have like I have a lot of students from Kerala, and everyone says that I mean all of you guys are having maths and bio simultaneously. So is it compulsory?
Sir, we only had a choice like that in our school. So
So you don't have computer science and statistics and other choices, fine arts, music, physical education.
computer science is there, but
Okay,
then maths and computer science like that. So we don't have a choice other than to pick bio and maths.
okay. And one more question: are you comfortable with Hindi as well? Do you understand
Um,
Hindi?
no, sir.
Okay, okay, good.
Sir, my friend is also there, but then she didn't get the message for this class.
Okay, so you can
Okay, I
tell
will
her or
ask
him
her.
to join the class. Yeah,
Yeah.
please. You'll start only after your friend will be joining. So tell him or her to join quickly. And if she's or he's not able to then tell me that.
Okay, sir. She'll come right now.
Yeah.
Sir, you can start the class. She'll come after some time.
Okay. Cool. So first of all, I want to give you introduction about me and what have we covered yet. So my name is Brian Codinia, as you can see, and I've been teaching maths for the past 5 years. I have also studied. I'm in my MTech, so I'm also studying maths only, basically data science. So and I have huge interest in maths. Like I love maths. This is my favorite subject. And other than this, we have covered. No, I mean, I have joined this batch in the midway only. So we have covered, we are covering integration right now. We'll be covering 3D and vectors, whenever we reach there. But if you want to ask any doubt other than, I mean, anything, because we have already covered all the topics other than 3D and vectors. So you can ask me, okay? No need to worry about this. I can also take extra classes if you want to cover 3D and vectors, ahead of the class, ahead of the batch. So you can tell me that. And right now, what we are doing is integration, which I think is the most important topic for class 12th, because there are three chapters in the integral calculus in this unit, and you'll be somewhat like getting 20 to 25 marks from this unit only. And one more thing about this is, if you are interested in doing engineering or BTech, so you'll be studying integral calculus a lot. Now, just tell me, what do you want to do after 12th? This is for Hadia Abdul Samad for you only.
Sir, I'm going for medical field.
Okay,
and
you're going for
might
medical field.
engineering also.
Acha, you haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So do you like maths? Like, are you able to solve a lot of questions in maths?
Yes, sir. I'm interested in maths.
Okay. In that case, if you go for higher studies go for higher studies which contain maths, you'll be solving a lot of questions related to integral calculus. I mean, there'll be 2-3 units will be based on integration or integral calculus only. And this is also a good way for you to revise, because integration is one unit I feel that you need a lot of revision. You need to solve a lot of questions. If you're not solving sufficient questions, so you'll be forgetting this chapter totally, because there are a lot of formula involved. And if we are not able to learn these formulae, we will not be able to learn these formulae like by learning only. We will be able to learn them if we solve a lot of questions. So we need to practice integration. And right now we are on the third part of integration, indefinite integration. So first part of integration is indefinite integration, and second part is definite integration. Indefinite also contain 3 subtopics. First was by substitution. Then second was by partial fraction. We have already covered these 2 topics. Today we will start with by parts, which is more like a product rule for integration. We have already studied product rule in differentiation, but by parts is the product rule in integration. Like if there are 2 functions which are in multiplication, then how to solve them in integration. We already know if there are 2 functions which are in multiplication, then how to differentiate them, we already know. But we don't know yet if there are 2 different kind of functions which are in multiplication, so how should we integrate them? So we'll be studying this topic by parts today. Let's start with this. And as we have already discussed, that integration is what? The reverse process of differentiation. Reverse process of differentiation. In simpler words, if we start with 1 and reach to 2 via differentiation, then the reverse process is if we start with 2, we will reach to 1 if we follow integration. Now 1 and 2 are 2 functions basically. So 1 is the first function. I mean, there is one function, this is second function. The first function, if we differentiate first function, we will get second function. Then if we integrate second function, we will get the first function, right? So by parts is just simply that we are basically using product rule of differentiation only to make this rule. But first, let me write the rule, then we will be able to discuss more about it. So let's say there are 2 functions which are in multiplication. Now, what are these 2 functions? How can they correlate? Or we can have a lot of information about these functions, but that we will have after some time. First, let's understand some rules. So if there are 2 functions which are in multiplication, let's call them first function and let's call it second function, or we can also write it as fx and gx. Let's say fx is your first function and gx is your second function. Then the integration of this multiplication can be done as first function as it is, integration of second function minus whole integration, differentiation of first function into integration of second function to whole integration. That will be your answer. Now, how to apply this? Let's understand this with a very simple formula first. Then I'll tell you all of the technical things about it. Like what will be the first function, what will be the second function? How will you decide what is first and what is second? There is a rule to it that will help you in deciding which should be the first function and which should be the second function. So it is based on priority order. And our priority work something, I'll tell you about the technicalities later. But let's solve one question first. How to apply this formula? How to very simply apply this formula? So it's a big formula. So this is basically integration of all of this. Whatever is written inside, the integration of all of this. So let's solve one basic question first. Let's solve x sin x. We want to find out the integration of x sin x. Now, what I want you to focus on is two things. The first thing is there are two functions which are in multiplication. And you can very simply observe that these two functions are of different nature. Now, what do I mean by this different nature? See, one is x, right? Just simply x. And one is sin x, right? Now, sin x is trigonometric function. And x is a polynomial, which can also be called as algebraic function. Right? So whenever there are two different kind of functions multiplied together, and you need to integrate that expression, you will have to use by parts. You got no other choice. You will have to use by parts. If there are two functions, two different functions, I would say, two different nature-wise functions multiplied together. And that is our criteria is fulfilled here because there are two different kind of functions which are in multiplication. So we have to apply by parts. Now, what will be the first function and what will be the second function? I will talk about it later. I'm telling you for this question that x is the first function and sin x is the second function. You just need to understand how are we applying the formula. So first, there are two parts of this integration. There are two parts, by parts. First part will contain your first function as it is. First function here is x into integration of second function. First part as it is into integration of second function minus your second part contains differentiation of first function, yani ki d of x with respect to dx, dy dx of the function. The function is x, so d by dx of x. First part is this, into second part is differentiation. Integration of second function, which we have done already here. So the same part also repeats here. Once again, first function as it is, second integration minus first differentiation into second integration to the whole integration. Let's solve it. What will be the final answer? So here, integration of sin x is, can you tell me what is the integration of sin x, guys? Anyone?
Minus cos x.
Minus cos x. So this should be minus x cos x minus. Now let's solve this part. Differentiation of x with respect to x will be 1, right? And the integration of sin x will be minus cos x. So we've solved this inside wala part, right? Now you have to integrate it again, the whole part. You have to integrate it again with respect to dx. So the final answer will be minus x cos x. Now this minus gets multiplied with another minus, becomes positive. The integration of cos x will be sin x. plus C. That will be the answer for x sine x dx. The first part is how to apply the formula. So you should understand by now that how are we applying the formula. We have to integrate twice in second part. I mean, we have to integrate this whole thing which we are getting. Now let's come let's come to the priority of the function. How will we decide which is first function and which is second function? There are many methods to decide this. But first of all, let's go to the bookish method. What book says is, so they tell you a rule which is known as ILET. If you are following ILET, you'll be able to, you'll be able to identify which should be a first and which should be a second function. Can I remove this part? Have you written?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hadia Abdul Samad. What should I call you? Hadia? Hadia is good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Hadia, if you haven't written, so you can just raise your hand. Otherwise, you need not to speak anything. But if you haven't written and I ask you, so you just have to raise your hand. I'll get to know that you are writing.
Okay.
So have you written this time?
I'm done. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So for priority of function, use ILET. So if you see, there are two functions which are in multiplication, right? And these are two different kind of functions. Like one is trigonometric, one is algebraic, or one is logarithmic and other is trigonometric, or one is exponential and other is inverse trigonometric function, right? Something along these lines. So how do you decide which is first and which is second? So you have to use this rule ILET. ILET, what does ILET says? The first letter of the word I indicates inverse trigonometric functions. Basically tan inverse x, sine inverse x, cos inverse x, and all those functions. Inverse trigonometric functions. Your second part L suggests logarithmic function. Then the third part A is for algebraic functions. Then the fourth part is for T trigonometric functions. And the last part is E, which is exponential function. So you have to give the priority according to this order. So let's talk about the last question first. Hi Sana, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll talk to you. I'll talk to you in a minute. Okay, let
Yes,
me
sir.
complete this. Yeah. So coming to the last question, which we have just solved, x into sine x. Let's see how we have decided the order. So there are two functions here, x and sine x, which are in multiplication, right? X is basically a polynomial, or simply said to be an algebraic function, and sine x is your trigonometric functions. So I told you that this is first and this is second. I'm telling you, I told you the last time that I have already decided that this is the first and this is the second. Now how did I decide that? I decided it on the basis of ILET only, right? So we have to give preference according to this order. If there is an inverse trigonometric function involved here, I'll give that first priority, which was not the case in this question. Neither do I have logarithmic function, right? but I still have this algebraic function and this trigonometric function. So algebraic function is above the priority order of trigonometric function. So I have given algebraic function as the first priority and trigonometric function as second priority, right? So this has to be decided based on this islet. The first priority should be given to inverse trigonometric function. If there is an inverse trigonometric function present in the multiplication, then I'll be choosing that as first function. If there is no ITF, then I'll go to logarithmic. If there is no logarithmic, then I'll go to algebraic. Then I'll go to trigonometric, and the last priority is exponential. Right? That is the rule for choosing your first and second function. Now, this is your bookish method. Book tells you that you use islet and you'll be able to solve all of the questions. Yeah, in most of the cases. But sometimes you can, we'll give you questions which you will not be able to solve with islet. Like my thing is, what my question is, what my curiosity is, like what happens if these two are not two different functions? What will we do in that case? So first point is, let's understand the question again. My point is that, okay, if there are two different functions, so we will use this method, islet. Let's say one is logarithmic and other is algebraic. So I know logarithmic should be first function and algebraic should be second function. But what if there are two logarithmic functions in the multiplication? Then first point, let's come back to the definition of biparts. I told you guys that biparts will be used when there are two different functions in multiplication. So in most of the cases, or at least in CBSE, you will always be provided with two different functions, just like I have given to you, x into sin x or x into log x, anything which involved the multiplication of two different type of functions. But if you go for RD or another high level questions, so there may be cases where there are two similar kind of functions which are in multiplication, and you have to you must use islet to solve that question. This is possible, right? So in that case, our priority should be take second function this is the mantra actually. This is the tip you should know. Like how we are deciding, how did we decide this islet also? This islet was decided based on this logic only, that take second function which is integrable, which can be integrated easily. You can see this in formula that we are always integrating this second function. You can check that in biparts. In biparts, the first part was fx into integration of second gx minus differentiation of fx into integration of gx. See, again, integration of gx. So this second function should be such that we can integrate this. If we are not able to integrate this part, we'll not be able to solve the question. So exponential function is very easy to integrate. We know the direct formula. That is why we are giving this exponential as second priority. Trigonometric function is also easy to integrate. Similarly, algebraic function is also easy to integrate. But if you come to these two, you don't know how to solve them. You don't know how to integrate them. Neither you have anything for inverse trigonometric function, nor you have for logarithmic function, right? So this is the tip, that whatever you take second function is, that function should be integrable, means that you should be easily able to integrate that function. If you're not able to integrate that function, then you must have done something wrong, right? So that is how we are going to decide which should be the first and which should be the second function. Now let's solve one more question. You have to identify which should be the first function and which should be the second function. So let's say we have to find out the integration of log x dx. Our first question to you guys is, do we see two functions here? Is there, I mean, can we spot two different functions in multiplication here or not?
No.
No. Yes.
The log it's into 1.
Log x into 1. Yeah, that we can do. But at the first, I mean, at the first instance, we cannot observe, we cannot notice two different functions, right?
Yeah.
Fatima, did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
There is only one function log x, right? But see, the problem is we don't even know how to integrate log x. Neither we have any formula for log x. We had formulae for algebraic trigonometric exponential functions. We had like different methods to solve algebraic functions, trigonometric functions. Like the more complex algebraic and trigonometric functions can also be solved using substitution or partial fraction. But we did not study any formula related to log x, right? So the definition is just not that you should observe two different functions in multiplication. But if you do, if you see two different functions in multiplication, then you have no other choice to solve it by parts. Then though it must you must use by parts to solve that question. But there are questions in which you will not be able to spot two different functions, and that you have to solve them using by parts, right? Now, when can we use by parts? First very important question for this is use of by parts. See, in the bigger picture, the problem you will be facing in integration is you will get to know a lot of things about integration, right? You'll get to know the different methods. Maybe you'll remember all of them, maybe not, right? There are a lot of methods, so there's a higher possibility that you will forget some of the methods, right? But let's say you remember all the methods, right? The major problem will be you'll be receiving 2-3 questions from integration only, just from the integration part, not for I'm not talking about area related to area between two curves or differential equation. You'll have to use integration in those two chapters as well, but I'm not talking about these chapters. I'm simply saying that you will be getting 2 or 3 questions from integration chapter, right? Now you will be confused in the exam. This is the most common mistake, like which is going to happen, which is used to happen like for many years, that what is the correct method, what is the method that I should use to solve this question. Now, to understand that part, you should know when to use by parts, when to use partial fraction, and when to use substitution. Now, for substitution part, there is no when. Like I can't tell you when to use substitution. You have to observe that with the function only, right? And in fact, the use of substitution is so huge. It is like it can be used as a wider range of variety. You can also use substitution in partial fraction, as well as you can also use substitution in by parts. So substitution is one thing which can be used in anywhere in integration, but we should know when to use partial fraction and when to use by parts, right? Just give me a minute. Yes. So when to use by parts? By parts will be used. It must be used for the first part. It's a star. It's a must. If two different kind of function are in multiplication. When two different kind of functions are in multiplication. then you don't have any choice to other than by parts. Now the second thing is, whenever you are going to face logarithmic and inverse trigonometric functions for integration, then also you must use by parts. I mean, most of the times, not all of the times. There may be substitution as well, but in some cases, when you are about to integrate logarithmic or ITF function, then you may think of by parts, right? And the third question is, third part is, that when e to the power x, that is an exponential function, is in multiplication with some other function. This is a general form in by parts. We'll be studying this a little later, right? But whenever you see anything in which you can spot e to the power x in multiplication with some other function, then it must be used. Then you have to use by parts to solve the question. So there are three type of different variety, you can say, in questions which you will be facing in this exercise, and all the three categories can be solved using by parts. Now let's come to the question again. So we have log x into dx, as we have to integrate log x, but we don't have any formula for log x. So here it is basically fulfilling the second criteria. So to integrate log x, we must use by parts, and to use by parts, we need two functions, right? But we don't have two functions here. We only have log x. So to introduce the second function, we are taking 1, because we can always use 1 with any function. So if we use 1 into log x, it will still be log x. But what happened now is that we got our second function. So we can take 1 as a function and log x as another function. Now 1 is what kind of function 1 is? No, this is a question for you guys. Like, 1 inverse trigonometric function, how can you categorize 1?
Algebra.
Algebraic function, right? Because it's a constant, right? So constant is also included in algebraic functions. So this 1 is algebraic function, and this log x is logarithmic function. Now Fatima, tell me, what should be our first function and what should be our second function using the priority order which we have discussed? There are two functions present. Tell me which is first and which is second.
One
One is the second function or first function. I didn't hear you, please.
is first function.
One is first function. Okay, so 1 is an algebraic function, right?
Yes.
And log x is a logarithmic function. Now see the priority. Logarithmic is above or algebraic is, algebraic is more important for us, or logarithmic is more important to us?
Log x
Log x.
and 1 will be the second function.
Yes, correct. So log x should be your first function and 1 should be your second function. Now applying the formula, first function as it is, integration of second function minus whole integration, differentiation of first function, differentiation of log x is 1 by x, into integration of 1 into integration of whole, and which should be 1, integration of 1 is x, so it should be x log x minus, you get integration of 1 as x. Now here you got 1 by x, So 1 by x into x will be 1 again. Okay, I'm solving it here. Second part, I'm solving it here. This should be 1 by x is the integration, sorry, differentiation of first. That is the differentiation of log x is 1 by x into integration of 1 is x and the whole integration. So the final answer should be, you cancel hoga. So it is again 1 into dx. The integration of 1 is again x. So the final answer should be x log x minus x plus c. That is the integration of log x. It means that if you differentiate this function, you will get log x. Right? So now first you can ask me if you haven't understood anything. If you're facing problem with any concept or anything. And also note it down. Okay. Hello, Sana. Same question for you as well. Like, first of all, from where do you belong? And second is, what have you covered in maths yet?
So we have completed almost all chapters. Same as Hadia, like we both are in same
Okay.
school.
Okay. Cool. 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 So you also belong from Kerala, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have been doing this chapter integration, and we are on by parts, right? And see, one more question. Are you also, do you like maths? I mean, what is your favorite subject?
Yeah, I kind of like maths, but right now I'm facing some difficulties.
Okay.
Yeah.
So please feel free to ask your questions. Feel free to ask your doubts. If you face anything in maths, so please don't hesitate. Okay. I'll be
Yes,
happy to, I mean, solve all your doubts. Doesn't matter how small or how big it is. So you can ask.
yes, sir.
So will there be more people joining after?
No, Adya. No.
So only 3 of us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We don't go in, I mean, large batches are there because in that way we will not be able to solve the problems for everyone. Rather, what we do is we take small batches. We can take more batches, but won't join a lot of students in one batch.
Yes, sir. This is more effective.
Yes. And that is how I can even observe you, like, what are you doing? Otherwise, in a large class, though, I can't give much time to each of the student. Okay, is it done for everyone? Sana, if you haven't done anything, like I'll be keep asking to you guys whether you have written it or not. Can I remove the slide or not? So you just have to raise your hand if you haven't written. If you have written already, so you need not to speak anything. Okay. So can I remove this, guys? If someone hasn't written, so you can just raise your hand. I'll get to know that you are writing. Cool. Now let's solve some questions and first solve some basic questions on this, like how to apply by parts. We can also face some good questions. We'll solve some NCRT from this. Just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, let's solve this. E to the power x into cos x. You guys try this. E to the power x into cos x. Decide which two functions are used here, which should be first and which should be second function. Whenever you reach to this, please tell me that which should be the first function and which should be the second function. Anji, what is the first function and what is the second function in this case? Can you spot two different functions, first of all?
Yes, sir.
What are those? Adya, please tell me.
First will be cos x because it's trigonometry,
Okay,
and second will be ex because it's exponent.
correct. So cos x is your first function and e to the power x is your second function. Now you know the first and second function. First is we are giving this first priority because this is an in trigonometric function which has a higher priority over exponential function e to the power x. So start solving this e to the power x into cos x. E to the power x into cos x, x into sine inverse x, and third is sine inverse x ka whole square. So I'm assuming that you have already started the first. I'll also start. You can check your first step. First step should be cos x as it is. Integration of e to the power x, which is again e to the power x only, minus differentiation of cos x, which is minus sine x, into integration of e to the power x into dx, the whole integration. Now the problem is we don't know this as well. We can't integrate this function. Why? Because of the same reason we have started. Like we got two different functions in multiplication, and we have already written this that when to use by parts. By parts will be used when there are two different kind of functions in multiplication. So we got two different kind of functions in multiplications. That is why we start solving this question using by parts. But while using by parts, we again reach to the same situation that we have to integrate this function, which contains the multiplication of two functions. So what should we do now? We haven't reached to the answer, right? So what should we do now? We can
Again,
again
integrate
use,
by parts.
yes, we can again use by parts over this function. Now the function is different in this time. So what we can do is we can write this as cos x into e to the power x. This minus, take this minus outside. So it will become plus. Now you got sin x into e to the power x dx in the integration part, right? Which is again a multiplication of trigonometric and exponential function. So what should be the first function this time?
Sin x.
Correct. And e to the power x is second. So whenever you see exponential e to the power x, take that as second function, because exponential has the least priority. It can easily be integrated. So as we can easily integrate exponential, so that will always be the second function, because we have to integrate the second function. Using this again, so this I is equals to cos x into e to the power x plus, the first function is sin x is as it is. Then e to the power x, I mean integration of e to the power x, which will be e to the power x only. Now start solving this fast. I mean, we have already applied this twice, so we should use it a bit quicker. Sin x first is as it is, second the integration, and e to the power x integration will be e to the power x minus again integration of what? Integration of differentiation of sin x. Differentiation of sin x is cos x into integration of second function, which is e to the power x. Integration of e to the power x is again e to the power x, and this whole function. But what I am observing right now is that it's like a loop. We will not be able to find it completely. We again get cos x into e to the power x. That is multiplication of a trigonometric and exponential function. But what I can tell you is that we have started from the same function where we have reached. We wanted to find out the integration of this function, right? We applied by parts once. When we apply this, we will again reach to the same condition. Then we again applied by parts. When we again applied by parts, where did we reach? We reached to the point exactly where we have started. So how to solve this now? Hadia, Sana, you can try this. Okay, so this is a very basic substitution. You just have to observe this. Okay. See, where did we start? We wanted to find out e to the power x into cos x integration. We called it as I. We called this integration as I. We don't know what's the value of I, but we are calling I as the function which we will get after integration of this, right? So we can simply substitute this value by I, because this and this is same, right? So what we can do is I is equals to cos x into e to the power x plus sin x into e to the power x minus whatever this function is. This is simply the point where we have started. So this can be written as I again, minus I. Now take I to the left hand side. This will become 2i, and 2i will be e to the power x common, cos x plus sin x plus c as well. So your I should be 1 by 2 e to the power x. Okay, I'm writing this as k. K is also a constant of integration only. This constant can be represented with any value. Why am I doing this? I'll tell you. So I've taken this 2 to the right hand side because this is in multiplication here. So it will go in divide to the right hand side. I have divided the first part and then I'll divide the second part, k. So first part will be e to the power x divided by 2, which can also be written as 1 by 2 e to the power x cos x plus sin x plus k by 2, right? Now this k by 2 is another constant, which can be written as c. So your integration of this function is equal to this. If you differentiate this, you'll get this e to the power x into cos x. Guys, yeah, Fatima, write this down. Also, you can ask me any doubt. I mean, I'll not be repeating this again and again. You can ask me. Just be comfortable in the class. So, wherever you face problem, feel free to ask. So, the first type of question is in which two different kind of functions you will use by part once and you will get the answer. Second type of function is this, where you got something along log x or this function. These are the type of functions where you won't observe two different functions, but you will observe a function which is not directly integrable, right? So you have to take the hint from this part that this is not directly integrable. So I can only use by parts. I don't have any formula to solve this. Then the third type of function includes e to the power x into any function. E to the power x into any function means you'll be again using by parts, but in this case, you'll be using by parts twice. You'll not be getting the answer in the first case only. It generally happens when there is an exponential function and another is trigonometric function. So whenever you will receive anything e to the power x into trigonometric, a simple trigonometric function, then you will have to use your by parts twice. Now, third category has two different type of integrations. First is this e to the power x into cos x. Second, we will learn a little later. First, you solve these two questions. After these two questions, I'll tell you the final variety of by parts. So solve x into sine inverse x. Okay, guys, so you can solve this in two parts. One is to use directly by parts. If you will use by parts directly, you will have to go through a lot of calculations to get to the answer part. But if you use a simple substitution, So what the substitution is, let's solve this like this. Let sine inverse x is equals to your y, right? In that case, your x will become sine y, right? And dx will become, okay, just remember this. If you are using any substitution, then you will have to also find the value for dx. Remember this always. So you have used sine inverse x as y. Your x becomes sine y. How? This sine inverse goes there. You must have read this in ITF, inverse trigonometric function. And when inverse function goes to the other side, the inverse function removes. This -1, we can remove this -1. So x becomes sine y. Now dx become the integration of dx with respect to dy. So dx by dy is equals to the differentiation of sine y is cos y. Right? So your dx becomes cos y dy. Hence the integrable function, I mean the function which you need to integrate is x. You can write sine y in place of x. You can replace x with sine y. You can replace sine inverse x with y. And you can replace dx with cos y dy. Now if you multiply and divide this function by 2, you get 2 sine y cos y. You get y into 2 sine y cos y, which is nothing but sine 2y. So if you start the question from here, you'll be able to reach to your answer quickly. But if you start the question like directly from here, you'll have to take a lot of steps. The question will be solved, no doubt about it, but it will be lengthy to solve it directly. You can do that. I mean, this is your homework. You have to do this directly. X into sine inverse x. If you are able to solve it, very good. If you are not, then please ask me in the next class, like how to solve it. So I'll say start solving this by the method I have told you. So first, if there is x into sine inverse x, that is an algebraic function with a inverse trigonometric function, then use substitution. After substitution, start applying by parts. That way, the question will be much shorter as compared to integrated directly. Yeah, this was for the previous part. So now you can apply. There is one function is y, another is sine 2y. You know whom to take first and whom to take second. Apply the rule, apply the formula, and then solve. Try to solve it. See whether you are able to or not. I'm here. I'll solve all the questions. Whatever I'll give it to you, whatever I'll give, I'll solve that. So don't worry about the answer part. We will get to it eventually. What you should be worried about is the method. The application part of the formula. Just solve it. Try to solve it. Anji, anyone reach to the answer? Okay, I'm removing this first question. I hope you all have written it. So we know the first function should be y and second should be sine 2y. The first function as it is. One by two to barrier. 1/2 is outside of this integration. So 1/2 is outside. Now, first function as it is, integration of second. Can you tell me, Sana, can you tell me what's the integration of sine 2y? What's the integration of sine 2y?
Cos minus cos 2y by 2.
Correct, but not minus. Yes, sorry,
Yes.
minus. No, it would be minus. Minus cos 2y divided by 2 minus, then the differentiation of y would be 1 into again integration of sine 2y, which would be again minus cos 2y divided by 2 into dy. I is equals to 1 by 2. This is minus y cos 2y divided by 2. Minus minus plus integration of cos 2y. Integration of cos 2y is sine 2y divided by 2 again plus c. So this I becomes 1 by 4. In fact, minus, now I'm multiplying this 1 by 2. I'm taking this 1 by 2 inside. So it will become minus y cos 2y upon 4. And this will become plus sine 2y by 8 plus c. This is your answer. No, this shouldn't be the answer, right? Why?
Sir, you didn't take y.
Yes, we did not start with y. We wanted to find out the integration of x into sine inverse x, right? We did not have any y, but we chose to substitute sine inverse x as y. So wherever y is, you can simply substitute that with sine inverse x. Or wherever sine y is, you can simply substitute that with x. You can also apply some other substitutions. So guys, if you know sine y, can you find out cos y for me? So the value of sine y is x. What should be the value of cos y?
Dx by dy.
Yeah, that is also correct. But will not be answering the question in dx or dy. No. I want to find out the answer for cos y in terms of x, not dx or dy.
Oh,
That is also correct, though, whatever you say.
Sorry to interrupt, but In the second part, it's integral of y,
Yes.
integral of y dash into integral of sine 2y, right? So
Yes.
derivative of y is 1 and derivative of, integral of,
Integration of sine 2y will be minus cos 2y upon 2, right?
but then you didn't take integration of y, 1.
No, I did take actually, but it did not affect the whole part. I mean, if I multiply this whole part by 1, I'll be getting the same part, no, Adya? So I did take that, but it did not change anything.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Yeah, so cos y can be calculated as under root of 1 minus sine square y. We know that cos square y plus sine square y is 1. So we can always write cos y as root over 1 minus sine square y. In that case, cos y is root over 1 minus x square. Now we can solve this part. I is equals to minus 1 by 4. Y can be written as sine inverse x. And this cos 2y, we have so many formulae for cos 2y. So cos 2y is 1 minus 2 sine square x, sorry, 2 sine square y, or there are, there are so many formulae for this, but I'll be using this. Cos 2y can be written as 1 minus 2 sine square y. So this cos 2y can be written as 1 minus 2 sine square y is 2x square. Plus sine 2y can be written as 2 sine y into cos y. We already know the value of sine y and cos y. Sine y is x. So this should be 2 sine y cos y. This 2 will cancel out the 8. So we'll get 1 by 4 only. Then sine y is x. And then cos y is root over 1 minus x square plus c. So the final answer for this part should be 1 by 4 x into under root over 1 minus x square. Then minus, this minus comes here. So I'm writing this second part as the first part and taking 1 by 4 common from both of them. So if I take 1 by 4 common, I'll be left with x into root over 1 minus x square minus sine inverse x, or rather I should write algebraic first, 1 minus 2x square into sine inverse x plus c. This will be the complete answer for second part. So remember this, if you are changing x into y, then you will also have to change the answer from y to x. Okay, the last question, sine inverse x whole square. I think we'll have to solve the next question in tomorrow's class. But you can start with all the questions from this exercise, right? You'll be able to solve a lot of questions now. There will be 2-3 questions in which you'll be facing problems. So try to solve almost all the questions, and whatever your doubts are, we'll take them in the next class. You will also have to solve this sine inverse x whole square. So what happens in the next class is, Sana and Hadia, this is for you. When you guys will come in the tomorrow's class, so I'll be asking you doubts. I'll be asking you your doubts if you have any doubts or not. If you have practiced, okay, and if you're facing any doubt, so you can ask me in that period. In every class, this will be the norm, that first we will clear your doubts if you have any, and then we'll start to solve questions or start to learn concepts for the next class. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So try
Yes,
to solve questions if you can, and come with your doubts. Okay, it's over, guys. So we'll meet tomorrow.
Thank you.
Fatima, did you understand these parts?